good morning, Carbondale. How y'all doing out there? Monday morning, you are tuned in to WDBX 91.1. And this is Talk of the Town, where we talk about all the things going down here in Carbondale. I'm your host, Eva Fisher, and I've got in the studio with me today the amazing Molly Maxwell. She is our senior planner at the City of Carbondale. Good morning, Molly.
Good morning, Eva.
How are you?
Thanks
for being here. Yes. We are going to launch into a conversation here in a minute about community input and how you can get involved in different planning processes within the City of Carbondale. But first, just let me give y'all a couple announcements. Goodness, were y'all out for Halloween weekend this past weekend? It was amazing. First of all, oh my goodness, perfect weather. We've not had good weather on this Carbondale Halloween weekend in a hot minute, so I was very grateful. It was beautiful out all weekend. I hope that y'all had so much fun out of all the events put on by like 17 different community organizations. It's pretty phenomenal. And we had an awesome final Off the Rails concert of the year. But Halloween is not over. The festivities and the fun activities are not over. Of course, this week we have actual Halloween, October 31st, lands on a Thursday. And our official city trick-or-treat hours are from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And if you would like to apply to be part of the Pumpkin Patrol, which is hosted by the Carbondale Police Department Safety Patrol Team, you have until noon today that you could apply for this. So you can contact Randy Mathis at the Carbondale Police Department at rmathis@carbondaleil.gov, all right? And let's see here. What was I going to say with that? Blah, 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 blah. Randy Mathis, Pumpkin Patrol. Yeah, so you'll be helping out just in the different neighborhoods, wearing a nice orange vest, making sure that, kiddos are getting around safely, just kind of being a point of contact for people. Another deadline today at noon is our spooktacular home and business decorating contest. So you have until noon today to submit photos of the outdoor of your Halloween decorations to contest@carbondaleil.gov. We've gotten some awesome submissions, and then once we have all those submissions by noon today, one of our amazing GIS specialists is going to create a map of these different homes so that you can then go around and check out these awesome decorations. So, let's see. That is Halloween for you. Thursdays are Halloween from 4 to 8 p.m. And then we still have some fun official Halloween activities that go past actual Halloween itself. So I don't know if you notice our awesome community altar, our Dia de los Muertos altar put on by CCABE, hosted from the Varsity Center. And that will be on display until November 2nd. Friday evening, November 1st, they are showing Coco. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's incredible. I cry every time I watch it. But 7 p.m., they'll be showing that at the Varsity Center. And then, you have until Saturday, November 2nd to check out that community altar. And then November 9th is the Pumpkin Smash out of the SIU Farm Service Center from 12 to 3 p.m. So much fun. You can sling them, you can catapult them, you can smash them with a hammer or a mallet, all sorts of fun ways to sustainably get rid of your pumpkins from this Halloween season. They'll be turned into compost, and you can even bring your own bucket and bag and go home with your own already cultivated pile of compost from SIU Sustainability Farms. Woo! All right. Well, that's our little Halloween, kind of wrap up there, if you will, and getting ready for the next steps of it. We go hard on Halloween here in Carbondale, don't we? I love it.
Pumpkin Glow is awesome.
Yes.
This weekend. They had record numbers.
Oh, yeah. I think they had like over 1,000 people go through the first night.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't even through the whole weekend.
Yeah, over 2,000 Friday and Saturday nights. So,
wow. Well, way to go, Pumpkin Glow, Green Earth. Hey, get out on those trails, people. We love the Green Earth trails. All right, well, speaking of all, the community activities, the trails, all those things that Carbondale does so well, let's start talking about all of these opportunities that we have coming up that people can get involved with this planning process at Carbondale to help make Carbondale better, to help create a stronger, brighter future, because we have a lot of opportunities coming up here that we want to hear y'all's voices at. So, Molly, can you just kind of give us just a quick rundown synopsis of what we got coming up here?
Sure, yeah. As far as events go, so with our comprehensive plan, officially entitled Plan Carbondale now, this is actually the update of the comprehensive plan, but we've got an event on November 13th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Civic Center, and that is, we just want everybody to come that can. And so we're gonna provide pizza and refreshments for folks to, you can bring your kids, you don't have to worry about dinner that night. We'll have some kids activities and some staff, there just to watch your kids for a little bit, and they can even share their input too, because we really wanna hear from everybody.
Yeah.
So that's coming up, and then we've got our stormwater management plan that's going on, and that event is Wednesday at the Irma Hayes Center, this Wednesday, October 30th, and that's from 12 to 3 p.m. That too, though, if you can't make it to that event, there's the online option, so you can go to the city's website and figure out how to share your input there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then last but not least, the Public Works Department is calling for projects. They do this every year at this time for the Community Improvement Program, so that's more just specific infrastructure ideas that you're looking for, like if you want a new bike path, somewhere in town, or if you've noticed that there's something going on with your sewer line or something. So those are the types of things that they're looking for in that for that call. And I believe the information is on the website to share those ideas.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah, so much. And I wanna dive in to great detail into each of these things. So maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the stormwater, since that's coming up this Wednesday at the Irma Hayes Center is our first community input session on urban flooding here in Carbondale. So, this is something that we have noticed, our residents have noticed, and as we experience, as our world is ever changing and evolving, and we're seeing more intense, stormwater issues and bigger storm fronts coming in, and we need to be looking at that and planning ahead our infrastructure. So this is an opportunity. We've had a survey running, and now we have a nice fun incentive for y'all to take this survey. So you can take our stormwater survey online. If you visit explorecarbondale.com, you will see our press release on it. If you also go to our City of Carbondale government Facebook page, it is pinned to the top of this post that has a survey. And if you take this survey, you can enter to win season passes to either Carbondale's Super Splash Park, the Carbondale Science Center, or a membership to Warehouse the Ultimate Gym, just for taking this survey. It's a really fast, simple survey. It's just simply asking where you have noticed urban flooding. So where you've noticed flooding in town, where, water's pulling up, maybe your front yard gets overrun, maybe your basement floods. And you can tell us exactly where you're experiencing this. And if you have the opportunity to attach photos of this flooding, that really helps out. But then that gives us an idea of where to look so that we can start planning for this infrastructure. So this first community input session on Wednesday, 12 to 3 at the Irma Hayes Center, it's just an open session. You can just kind of graze in and out. There'll be some coffee and snacks and maps up and different exhibits on this. And you can put stickers on the map of where you're experiencing this flooding. So, this is vital to us, and Greater Egypt Planning Commission is helping with this project. And we gotta have this feedback to be able to make these plans. And these plans are gonna help all of us, have a more stable life in Carbondale here in the future. All right, and then Molly, I would love if you could just give us like the big rundown, broad scope of Plan Carbondale. That's this new initiative to launch us into this next chapter of our comprehensive plan for Carbondale, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So our comprehensive plan is something that the community's been doing since since about the 70s actually. So we've had,
Cool.
a comprehensive plan since then, but, sort of the whole process involves updating every several years, and then you do a major update every 10 to 15 years. And the last one that we're now operating on was updated in 2010. So it's hitting that time to make that update again. And you look at the things that have happened in the past 15 years, and you see why you need an update. We have a lot of new community members, a lot of changes to our community. We've had some decrease in population that really it does change the way that plans are made, and the land use character and things like that. And then of course we had COVID, and although we're doing a great job of getting out of that impact, it still really impacted all facets of Carbondale. So it's we feel like it's a really great time to be updating this plan and really like seeing where people are at now, as opposed to 15 years ago. I know a lot of people, have been around for a while and might even remember this process from 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to talk to folks about how things have changed in Carbondale in that time. So
Absolutely. How things have changed, and how what they can see from those previous plans. Like, I'm so interested in if you have anything you could share with us, and to get people's wheels turning of what they could bring to the table, like for this Big Ideas workshop to submit in this survey online. Like, what sort of things have been brought to the table before for these plans that then we got to see come to life, that we got to see brought to fruition?
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of things. I am the most familiar with our transportation and bike infrastructure, since that's kind of what I've been working on for the city since I started about 5 years ago. So what, when I was hired, I was one of my major tasks was to carry out the bike plan, the bike master plan. And that came out in 2016, and that plan was recommended by the comprehensive plan in 2010. So you look at a lot of the bike infrastructure that we have now, and that all came out of the bike master plan.
Cool.
I mean, very often, since the comprehensive plan is such a broad document, it's really like a bird's eye view. It's not really getting into like specifically what we should do at this intersection, or specifically, what we should, do in one certain spot. A lot of what it calls for is other plans, that kind of delve more specifically into certain areas or certain modes of transportation. But another plan that the comprehensive plan called for was the downtown master plan, and we've been able to carry out a good amount of recommendations from that.
Awesome.
The streetscape improvements and the stage that is being built now was originally called for in that.
Awesome.
The Sims, so it's cool to see, and I'm sure it was really cool for the folks that were in charge of the plan back in 2010, like, oh wow, these are the things that we called for, and now they're actually happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not that long ago, like 2010. Like, sure, all right, we're talking a little over a decade now, but these things do take time, and when you're dealing with so many things all at once, like all the things it takes to make a city run day in and day out, and to meet so many people's needs, I think it's really quite impressive and cool to see what has been coming out of these plans over the past several decades.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great, it's sort of a pathway to help the city, like you say, like, just day to day, keeping the lights on, making sure the traffic's flowing, and the sewers are going, and all of that stuff. Like, you still kind of need an overall broad plan that kind of guides you to remind you of like those bigger picture things that aren't going to happen unless you have a document that is calling for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, just from now until what's kind of the timeline of this comprehensive plan, of this plan Carbondale? That's kind of this branding of this comprehensive plan input series, what we're calling it this time around. What's this timeline we're looking at for people to get involved right now?
Sure. We started in August, and you may remember us calling for the steering committee applications. We had great response to that, and so we've built our steering committee. Right now, we're in the middle of round 1 engagement. Mm-hmm. So we have our online call for input going live right now. We have our own website for Plan Carbondale. It's plancarbondale.com. So, if you're ever just wondering where we're at in the process, just go right to that website, and that's also linked to the city's website too. But you can get on plancarbondale.com and answer a couple questions. And so that's live. I'm not exactly sure how that'll be live for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And then of course we have our Big Ideas Workshop November 13th. And this is just round 1. So this is gonna last, I'd say, through probably January. We actually also have our steering committee members doing their own little mini workshops. So if you have a friend that is on the steering committee, ask them about that, because they'll be working on that.
Cool.
If you prefer a smaller, more intimate setting for your community input. But then we'll have another round of engagement, I'd say in the spring at some point. And then the final thing will be coming out late spring 2025. So
amazing. Yes, I love it. How thrilling. Yeah, people, listen, people are always talking about, what they miss about Carbondale, or what they like to see in Carbondale, or what's wrong or what's right. This is your chance to really put that in action, to actually make a change, and for the better. So please, we mean it when we say we want to hear your voices through this. So go online, put your input in there, come to this Big Ideas Workshop November 13th. I love stuff like this. It's just so fun to see people come together, and I almost said almost daydreaming about what things could look like, but it's not daydreaming. It's actual planning. There's actual structure to it that's gonna have tangible outputs that we can see.
Yeah, exactly. And if you kind of get stuck on, can't really think of how to respond or what ideas you want to bring to the table, I like to think about other places I've gone and what I liked about those places, or maybe didn't like about those places. It's nice to get fresh ideas into the planning process, and so that's always a good kind of a trigger to think of good ideas.
Yeah.
Or what you like about Carbondale, how can we expand on that?
Yes.
If you like the bike paths, well, ask for more bike paths,
Yeah, totally.
So.
Yeah, what can we build upon that's already there and that's working? How can we take that even further? Mm-hmm. And broaden that scope of, this isn't just for folks in Carbondale. This enriches our whole Southern Illinois region of what infrastructure can we have that connects us closer to Murfreesboro, to Marion, to our, bigger hiking trails that surround us, the Shawnee National Forest. We're talking big picture here.
Sure, yeah, and I don't know that I mentioned this earlier, but we really were sort of the main topics we're looking at are housing, neighborhoods, transportation, and transportation, of course, housing, neighborhoods, all very important, but transportation really seems to be coming up more in the spotlight now too, and not just infrastructure, but what what are our modes of transportation that are available to us, and how can we maybe expand or improve upon those, and we really like to tout our proximity to Shawnee National Forest and things, but how are folks getting there? How can we make it more accessible for more people.
Yeah.
So everybody can enjoy it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to come back and shine a little more light once more on the CIP, the annual community improvement project input that comes around every year. Can you tell us once more a little bit about that?
Sure, I'm not quite as well versed in that as more in our public works department, but I will do my best. So they're looking for a bit more infrastructure related projects, so a bit more specific projects that have to do with improvements to streets, roads, trails, bike paths, bike infrastructure, sewer, those infrastructure type projects. I believe they're asking not for things like filling potholes or like more maintenance related things, just really more those bigger projects that our public works department will address as they get funding for, or if they see there's a project recommendation that is really popular, then I'd say they'd move that higher to the top of the priority list.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, yeah, and that I think they're taking recommendations for that until November 1st at 5 p.m., which is this Friday.
Great.
And then City Council, I believe, will review all of those and add things to their list.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Cool. Very nice. So Molly, I'm so curious. All right, you're a city planner. You get to work on all these amazing projects, and you've got to hear some of these, community inputs over the year. What's kind of like the most, the most fantastical thing you've heard, or maybe something just like, oh wow, what a wild idea, but then perhaps worked its way into coming to life in our city?
That's a good one. I'd say the Sims, the multimodal station, really was on. It was on the books for a long time. They had been applying for that grant for 10 years before they actually got it approved.
Yeah.
And so, I think they were just constantly reworking the grant application and making the changes that were recommended. And then it finally happened and, came to fruition, and it's just been so cool seeing that really like physically come to fruition too,
Yeah.
Every step in the process, it just feels like it's so long, it's gonna be so long until the next step, but now we're, nearing completion, so that it's just cool to think about how much that's going to bring to Southern Illinois and our connectivity, and really going back to hopefully more people will start riding the train again, and then you can get off the train and hop on a bus, where you're not as stranded as you might have been before this connectivity. So that's been really cool. I'm gonna have to think on maybe another one. It's been really cool. I guess another thing that came out of the 2010 comprehensive plan was they recommended that the city enact a complete streets policy, and that has happened time and time again since I've been here. So when they're resurfacing a street or rebuilding a street, they, instead of just making it more convenient and better for cars, they're also looking at it holistically at other types of transportation too. So how can this be better for bikes and micromobility and pedestrians and folks with disabilities? So Oakland Avenue, when they rebuilt that several years ago, they added bike lanes and improved the curb ramps and those things. So I think that policy has made a really big difference since that was enacted.
Awesome. Yes. So many improvements. I love it. And this is a really bike friendly city, and I know that is something you're so passionate about is biking. And so with those bike trails and our bike programs, like, what is something that would be a way we could expand even more on that?
Well, we have a bike wayfinding plan that SIMPO, Southern Illinois Metropolitan Planning Organization, helped us out with a few years ago, and I'm really ready to get that going. It's kind of a piecemeal thing where, if we get a new bike path or something, then we can use the signage that comes from that recommendation. But I would love to see us just be able to completely revamp our bike signage. We have the downtown campus bike path that I think would get a lot more use if we had better signage.
Yeah.
So would love to just see people be more aware of where our bike paths are.
Totally.
And yeah, just, I think as the industry sort of changes and expands, like bike lanes on streets are still really nice to have, but that's sort of the lower end of the totem pole now, as far as your ideal bike path is completely separate from a street. That's usually the most expensive and the hardest, as far as land acquisition and things like that. But when you can acquire the land and get grant funding to make a bike path that's completely separate from the street, that makes it the safest for cyclists and pedestrians.
Totally.
And so trying to get those in where we can, but it's not always feasible.
I love it. That's another survey we'll be putting out there here, either later today or tomorrow, is from SIMPO about street safety. So once again, we have so many requests to hear y'all's beautiful voices to help us make Carbondale even better for each and every one of you. So SIMPO survey, we're going to put that up there. Our stormwater survey you can take right now online. You can attend the public input session on Wednesday from 12 to 3 at the Irma Hayes Center to talk about where you experience urban flooding. Right now, you can start being a part of our comprehensive plan by visiting plancarbondale.com, putting your input there online, and please attend our Big Ideas workshop November 13th at the Carbondale Civic Center. What time's that at again, Molly?
6:30 to 8 p.m.
6:30 to 8 p.m. Share those big ideas on November 13th. And then our community input, our annual one. You can get those ideas in for some infrastructure by this Friday at 5. So please, we mean it. We want to hear your voices. We are so grateful for the people who take the time to do so. It really means a lot to us. And Molly, thank you so much for coming on today, sharing all this awesome info with me and our community. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you too. Thanks for having me. I know this is a whole lot, so if anybody wants to just kind of talk through it with me, they're welcome to. My direct line is 618-457-3233, and my email address is mmaxwell@carbondaleil.gov.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Molly. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We hope that you have a wonderful Monday, and I'll chat with you all next week. All right, take care, Carbondale.